Ladies and gentlemen, independent Americans around the country and around the world. We are deep into the final weeks of winter, but things are already getting hot, and we have a returning champion rejoining us on the show who's in one of the hottest races in America, a friend of the show, an old friend of mine, the great and powerful Congressman Ruben Gallego is back on Independent Americans.
Thank you, Paul. I need to hire you as my hype man.
Hey, man, you're going to need a good hype man because you're in a battle. And
yeah.
I want to get to that. I want to talk a little bit about Ukraine if we can, maybe some vets issues and even
Love to.
Afghanistan. You're in a car on your way from one place to another.
That's how I do it.
Yeah. So first of all, I ask this of everybody, where are you and how are you, man?
I'm good. I'm in South Phoenix where I live. I'm on my way to another appointment and then getting on a plane to go and do the fundraising you have to do for this campaign. I'm doing well. I mean, everything's kind of coming up fast, running this Senate race. And as you know, I got a baby girl coming in July. So spend some time setting up the nursery this weekend and doing call time at the same time, which I think was an impressive feat by me and did not piss off my wife, which is even better.
That is an impressive feat. And I know we're talking about working out. Congratulations on the baby on the way this summer.
Thank you.
You're going to be a little older than last time. So, I'm going to say being an old dad is a challenge, but it's compounded by running for Senate. Let me ask you, breaking news from this week. Biden makes a surprise visit to Ukraine. You're a Marine Corps veteran. You've been around all of this for the last 6 years since you've been in Congress. What are your immediate reactions to Biden's visit to Ukraine?
Well, first of all, knowing the way that he got in there, because I've been to Ukraine recently. I was there about 2 months ago. It's not easy getting in the country. You have to take a very long 10-hour train ride from Poland in there. The fact that he was willing to do it, the logistics of it, were able to do it. It really shows you. It really shows you that he is up to the task. It's a really great defining moment for America, right? There's these really good moments that we can have where we can say, like, we are fighting for the right causes. We are standing for freedom and liberty. We're helping people that want to be free and stay free. This is something that's at the core of what we should be proud of as Americans. The fact that he's doing it and he's leading the free world in that fight, I think is something we all should really be proud of that he's doing.
Can I ask you to drill down deeper? You're running for Senate in the state that elected maybe the most famous fighter pilot in American history, or at least recent history. National security is very dear to your state. We've had a lot of folks on this show from all political angles talking about Ukraine. I've been critical of the fact that Zelensky has to play a game of Mother May I here. The next thing they want is F-16s. Do you support the U.S. sending them F-16s? And if so, why or why not?
So I do. Like, my overall theory about this is that you can't plan for a long war. If you plan for a long war, you're going to get a long war. And unlike what most people think, this is not an insurgency fight. This is a conventional fight. In a conventional fight, the dominant power, if they have the time, will win, right? In the end, they will win. And right now, we understand that all of our country, our allies, even our own countrymen, we're already hearing them about their doubts about, giving Ukraine aid. And I'm hoping that we could continue to do it. But let's face the political reality that there is a very good misinformation campaign that's happening that a lot of Republican colleagues of mine have taken to heart. So we need to end this war as fast as possible. The way to force, Russia to the peace negotiation table is to in a position where they're going to have to, it's in their best interest to do that. Now, that may never happen. It just may end up being that Russia just decides, okay, we're done. We don't have the capability to fight anymore. We're just going to leave and pull out, right? Much like they did in Afghanistan in the early 1980s. So giving them the F-16s, I think, matters because the most important thing is we need to have the Ukrainians have the ability to go on the offensive. In order for them to really push through these, very static lines that exist, they're going to have to be able to do Western style fighting, the kind of combined arms tactics that you and I learned when we were in the military. And that the key to that is having some air cover. And right now they don't have that capability with the MiGs that they have. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be F-16s. I think procuring them MiGs is also fine, but we do need to give them some kind of air cover in order for them to really have a true offensive capability. And again, to try to bring this to a close faster.
Okay, so let's talk about the other fight that you're deeply involved in. Last time you were on the show was May 6, 2021. And I asked you about Kirsten Sinema, who at that time was the senator, was pissing off, pretty much the whole world. And I asked you, would you ever challenge her? And what you said is, no, I believe in Senator Sinema. You said she knows how to win in Arizona. She knows how to deliver. So what you campaigned for her when you were on last time? You wouldn't run against her. What's changed since then?
Look, and I am a team player, and I never expected her to ever be 100% aligned with me politically. And I always thought that in her hearts of hearts that she would always end up doing the right things. And in the end, what happened is she created a resume that was just hard to avoid. I mean, forget the fact that she re-registered as independent. That's a nothing burger, right? Because most people in Arizona vote for the person, not for the party. But the problem is that we sent her to Washington to fight for seniors, not fight for pharmaceutical companies. And she did that. We sent her to fight for working class families, and she fought for Wall Street, iBankers and hedge fund managers to keep a very small tax cut that they don't deserve. And that's not what we sent her to do. We sent her to protect us, from using through the Voting Rights Act, and she sided with the filibuster. We could have arguments about the filibuster, but at a minimum, there should probably be exceptions to the filibuster when it comes to Voting Rights Act, considering the history of the filibuster. So she kind of kept on doing this, and at the same time, she just never reached out back to the community. And I'm not talking to me. I'm an elected official. She doesn't have to be talking to me. I know exactly what's going on, but she hasn't had a town hall. She hasn't had an open session. She's never seen walking out here in an unscripted manner. And at the end of the day, she really has lost the trust of Arizonans, and she was never going to be able to win this race, whether she stayed as a Democrat or now she stays independent. And we can't have that. The Senate seat needs to be in the hands of someone sane and competent. And right now, especially who the Republicans are talking about putting up, it doesn't look like they're going to have much of an option either.
So let's pull that apart, right? It's independent Americans. I always want to talk about independent voters and especially veterans, and that's going to be probably the deciding factor in Arizona, like it has been in some other Senate races, right? Now, she might run as a Democrat. She might run as an independent. I want to go deeper on that. But
she can't run as a Democrat anymore.
Okay. So
by the rules of Arizona,
Okay, so she may run as an independent for president. We don't know what she's going to do.
Right, exactly, yeah.
But independents are going to be key here. And one of the questions I want to ask anybody who's trying to vie for the votes of independents is how they're going to empower independents. So in Arizona right now, if you're an independent, you have to declare to vote in a partisan election. You don't have full open primaries.
You can request a ballot for one of them. Yeah.
Right. Which is not a full open primary. So would you support open primaries going forward that would empower all independents to vote, 50% of which roughly are veterans themselves?
Yeah, depending on what it is. Like, we want to make sure that independents have access to the ballot, have empowerment, feel that they're not being disenfranchised. There's always different ways to do it, but I would be up for it. I mean, we work pretty well in that space right now, but making it easier for independents to pull one of the ballots or be able to participate is not something that we should be afraid of.
Yeah, I mean, right now, independent voters in Arizona are funding private primaries, right? They're funding Democrat and Republican primaries. So there's a push underway. There was an article in Arizona Central, last fall by Sarah Smallhouse talking about how the small minorities are determining these important elections. And that's definitely going to be true on the right. It might be true on the left too. So if there's an effort underway to support full open primaries, you would support that?
Yeah, I mean, the devil's in the details, but I think that's something that I would be interested in. I mean, again, I don't think there's anyone should be afraid of independents voting in primaries, but we have actually found here when people get really excited about candidates, it's actually independents that really surge at the polls during primaries. And I'll give you a good example. 2016 and 2016, the biggest surge we had at polls were for Donald Trump and for Bernie Sanders from independents crossing over. So it's something that we're used to. I don't think it's going to be harmful for us to continue it. But of course, I always, caution people. I need to read the details, but it's something I'm not against.
So let's go further into independence, because I had, Pat Ryan was on here, ran a very successful race as a Democrat,
Great guy,
appealing another veteran. You're obviously going to position yourself as a veteran. You're going to try to attract those independent voters. 40% of Latinos in Arizona are registered as independents. It's about 37% of Latinos nationally. At the same time, you've got Carrie Lake, who's the presumptive candidate from the right, who's
Yeah.
called you the AOC of Arizona. You're going to try
Yeah.
to you're going to try to attract independents, but you're still a Democrat, which has been a challenge for many Democrats. How are you going to split that? How are you going to be able to run as an independent, as a Democrat that's been left of center in the Democratic Party, or at least the left of the Democratic Party? How are you going to appeal to independents as a Democrat?
Well, first of all, you know, when you talk about 40% of Latinos are independent, those Latinos are going to be voting for me because I'm going to talk to them about the issues that they care about. And there's a reason why I always overperform the top of the ticket. I did 4 points better than Hillary. I did 3 points better than Biden in my district because I attract independents to also come vote for me, especially Latino independents. But look, what are we going to talk to them about? The independent voter in Arizona is very young. This is what people don't understand. It's actually younger than the Democratic and Republican voter. So they have different needs and wants. They want to have the American dream. I talk about the American dream, and that is the theme of my campaign because that's truly why I'm here, and that's truly what I believe in. And when we talk to the independent voter, we need to talk about that. Right now, give you a good example. Arizona, average house is $458,000 to buy a home in Arizona. The average salary for a family in Arizona is also $71,000. You're not going to be able to buy a house in Arizona if you're the average person, which a lot of our independents are at this point. So we need to talk to them about how we're going to make housing affordable to them, help them get, a first-time home buyers down payment assistance, right? Because even if you could afford it, most people buy their first home using an FHA loan. That's 3.5% down. There's a lot of these young independents that don't have 20K walking around money, right? So let's help them get their career going right there. Also, we just need to talk to them about the other things they care about, right? They care about taking care of their seniors. You know, prescription drug prices are still through the roof here in Arizona. People are driving down to Mexico to pick up their pharmaceutical drugs because it's too expensive, even though they come from the same factory in Mexico, right? You shouldn't have to live like that in this country. So we're going to talk to them about bread and butter issues. And we're going to talk to the independent veterans like we've always talked to them in an honest manner, showing them that we're patriotic and that we're going to take care of this country and this country's veterans.
So, Congressman, if Kari Lake jumps in from the right, who we know is radical, she's an election denier, I would view her as a threat to our democracy, and you run as a Democrat and Sinema runs as an independent in a state where we don't have ranked choice voting, my money would be on Lake winning that. So as an independent,
that'd be a very bad vote.
Hold on, but let me ask you to break that down, right? That's as an independent, it looks like one of those elections where you and Sinema might beat the heck out of each other and Lake could win. Tell me why that wouldn't be the case. And if it was the case, what would you and Sinema do?
Well, number one, I'm going to win. It's not going to be the case. But the reason that's going to happen is because of two things. Number one, the Republicans cannot hold their own. They can't hold their base, and they haven't been able to do it for a while. And number two, again, we're going to be able to motivate Latinos to the point where we're going to be able to really overcome some of the gaps that would happen in a three-way race. Let me finish my thought on that too.
Yeah, please.
Because it is a legitimate scare, right? And like, look, I'm a patriot, and I would not risk this Senate seat falling in the hands of a traitor like Kari Lake, right? But my thing is, Kyrsten Sinema can't beat Kari Lake head to head. Every poll has her losing because there's so many people upset with what she's done. Now, the last poll that just came out had me in a three-way race beating Kari Lake, Sinema in third place. Not just Kari Lake, even the so-called moderate Doug Ducey, I'm beating him. So we're beating everybody because we have a campaign that, number one, reaches out to all Americans. Number two, we're going to motivate a lot of people that haven't been voting for quite a while. And we have the messaging on our side. So, you know, at the end of the day, we're going to have the campaign that can win this. And I just don't think she has it.
So I hope you'll come back over the course of the next, year and a half that this is underway.
Yeah, I'd love to.
But let me press you on that one point. So let's say it doesn't work out that way, and it looks like you and Sinema at the end, it's going to be mutual annihilation, and neither one of you refuses to leave. Neither one of you refuses to leave, and the world is going to be stuck with Kari Lake. What are you going to do, man?
Well, look, it's not going to be that way. If you see the last couple of races, for example, even in Oregon, where there was an independent running and we thought the Republican to win, at the end of the day, Democrats come home to the strongest candidate. We're going to be the strongest candidate. Last time this happened with a Democrat was in 2002 with Governor Napolitano. Again, the Democrat won. The Democrat has won. So we're not going to be in that situation. We're going to run the race that's going to be the strongest race possible. We're going to make history by being the first Latino ever elected to the Senate, and don't think that won't turn out the vote. At the end of the day, that's going to be it. You know, we're going to have the
I
better
appreciate
campaign.
your certainty, but when you were on a year and a half ago, you also told me no, you wouldn't run against Kirsten Sinema.
I didn't think she'd go that crazy on us, though. That's why.
Okay, so I'm gonna, basically it's a push, right? Like, but this is a very real concern, I think, for everybody, right? And it's doom on all sides, right? Cinema deserves responsibility here too, but it's entirely possible that we could come down to a situation where it doesn't go like the way you want. You're a Marine, you can plan for most dangerous course of action, and I think that's what many watchers are concerned about, is that there will be this grudge match between you and Sinema, and Lake will end up coasting through it.
Yeah, I don't think the grudge match is going to be between us and Sinema. It's going to be between her and the Republican, to be honest. Number two, I don't maybe people don't understand. Arizona's a very competitive state. Sinema has no support. She has no one that's going to go door knocking for her, doing the phone calls. Yes, she's registered independents, but independents still volunteer for the Democratic Party. So she basically only has whatever she could fundraise, which isn't going to be that much. And in the hopes that maybe some rich people will come and bail her out through independent expenditure. But the functional aspects of the campaign are gone, and she's going to have a very tough time to win this.
I think this is why we're going to watch this race especially so closely, because I think a lot of people assume things about independents. And in this show for 3 years now, we've been exploring what it means to be an independent.
Right.
I don't think we know who independents are in Arizona until we're really going to find out, right? Especially with the next generation of voters, especially if you've got more veterans engaging in this process. We're going to find out who independents are. So you're placing a bet. She might make a bet. Carrie Lake might make a bet. And, a year and a half from now, we're going to find out. And this might be the most important race in America for independents.
I certainly think so. And look, what we've seen in independents in Arizona is they are Democratic leaning, and they vary. There are conservative independents, and there's actually liberal independents. And so we have to make sure that we actually get the right mix and make sure that we get them out.
And you've said you're going to run, you said you're going to stand with Joe Biden, despite the fact that he might drag you down in Arizona. The Democratic brand is something I would say might be dragging you down more than you're anticipating in Arizona, but you don't see it that way. You're all in on the Democratic Party and all in on Biden.
Independents aren't idiots. They're not going to be like, oh, Ruben suddenly is not campaigning with Joe Biden, therefore he's more independent. No, that's just fake. That's fake bullshit politics, right? You are who you are. You run how you are. You run with your party. And if you disagree with your party, then you say you disagree with your party. But trying to run away from the top of the ticket is dumb. Own it, fight for it, and go all the way with it, or else you will lose, because then you're going to have a lot of people that are not going to have the intensity, are not going to feel your authenticity. And it's dumb when politicians do that, and it rarely ever pays off.
Okay, I respect your passion. I think what's going to happen most often with independents is they choose the lesser of two evils. And they're not crazy about Democrats. They're not crazy about Republicans. And if you're able to push Sinema out and you're less, radical to them, whether it's fair or not, right, then they'll pull the lever for you instead of Carrie Lake. But I do think that independents are really sick of both parties, and the candidates who decouple themselves from that are going to attract more of them than those who don't. But we'll see. Let me ask you a quick question. I know you got to go to the barbershop and do all the campaigning. Afghanistan investigations. This seems like a bipartisan thing. You're a veteran with a lot of status. You've served in Iraq. Are you going to support, it's been 2 years now. No one's been held accountable for this despicable collapse in Afghanistan as our allies continue to die. You've been a very vocal proponent of the Afghan Adjustment Act. Are you going to support investigations and actually holding somebody accountable?
Yeah, I certainly think, first of all, we should have an investigation. I think the investigation should cover both administrations. Let's not forget some of the stuff that led up to the withdrawal was also a cause of how was the so-called peace negotiated. So as long as it's a comprehensive investigation that covers both administrations, and it's done in mostly nonpartisan way, because it's impossible not to be, I think we should continue forward, because we need to learn what happened and learn from the mistakes going into the future. Great.
Last question. You're a veteran. You're going to be a voice for veterans. VA Secretary Dennis McDonough is not a veteran. He's been in there 2 years. He's made some headway. He's still facing some criticism, especially around electronic record keeping, execution, not changing the motto. If you had to give Dennis McDonough a letter grade, because he's going to be very important, especially to voters in Arizona, what kind of grade would you give Dennis McDonough for his performance so far?
I think so far, I think he's a B plus. The electronic records, trust me, I just had to go adjust my records. Yeah. It is talent. It has been helped with a lot of administrations. He had a great rollout with the PAC Act. I was very happy about that. The town halls were very successful. I think he's been doing a lot of work even prior to the PAC Act to make sure that veterans had presumed coverage for some of the diseases that we were getting because of burn pits. So that's good. I think there's a lot of room to grow. Always the VA, like the Arizona VA, Phoenix VA Hospital is something that continually needs work, and it is getting better. Thank you, Lord, on that. But it does need more work. But so far, compared to a lot of other VA secretaries, I think he has done better work than some of them, than most of them, I should say.
Thank you. Our last shout out for Arizona, because I don't know if you're going to be there. I want to give a shout out to the Pat Tillman Foundation that was featured at the Super Bowl. Pat's run is coming up April 15th, 2023. I tell everybody it should be on their bucket list. I don't know if you're going to be there, but if not, I hope you can spread the word and encourage people to do it.
I always do. I don't know if I'm running this year, but I certainly have in the past.
Excellent. Congressman, thank you for your time. Thank you for being an inspiration.
Thank you.
So many veterans. Wishing you all the best. I hope you'll come back again and talk to us soon.
I will, Paul. Adios.
Thank you, my friend. Stay vigilant.
Will do.